Every year we learn something new about the NFL and the game of football. This is what I learned this year about the NFL. These are my top 10 lessons from 2022 in all aspects of the sport: quarterback, coaching, offense, and defense. Let's begin with something I didn't see coming when 2022 began. I didn't see this return to toughness, this return to physicality, this return to the running game actually happening or ever taking place. I thought that the running back was entirely devalued. I thought the running game would never be that crucial to success in the NFL. But I believe what we have seen in 2022 is that if your team is not super talented, if you are not one of the favorites in the NFL, if you do not have a loaded roster on offense, on defense, if you do not have a premier quarterback, the best way to win if you are an underdog, and I believe this all kind of stems from Mike Vrabel's Titans over the last couple of years, we've seen it develop this year in teams that we didn't see as being competitive. The Giants really go all in on Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, running the football, making games close until the fourth quarter, and actually winning games that way. We have seen the Washington Commanders be a possession offense with a strong defense. We have seen even teams like the Carolina Panthers trade away Christian McCaffrey and then become a power football team with a good defense. We have seen a lot of teams with limited quarterbacks. The New York Jets try to heavily lean into defense in running the football. This is a very old school mentality, and it's been widespread across the NFL for a lot of average to above average football teams that don't have elite quarterback play. And it's been successful. It's been a formula that has allowed these teams to maintain relevance. And we've also seen the teams that are in that category that have been unable to sustain a running game, they have rather regressed, they've fallen off, or they're simply not that good this year. Because we've seen not the best quarterback play this year. So a huge lesson that I've taken away from 2022 is if you want to be competitive as an underdog or a team that maybe is not the most talented, the best way to do that is to commit to the running game, commit to playing fundamentally sound at the line of scrimmage, don't turn the football over. Lessons that we knew before, but I just didn't feel were relevant any longer. I felt like if you didn't have a good, competent, above average passing game, you would never be able to be successful. And this has also kind of been combined with the notion that if you are simply different offensively, if you're creative, if you're unique, you can be successful offensively. We've seen teams like Atlanta running a lot of option stuff, a lot of play action, a lot of run game, very limited pass game usage, but still successful offense and more wins than expected. We've seen a team like Chicago really lean into a great athlete of Justin Fields over the last half of the year and dominate teams putting up points. And they're not a very good team. They don't win a lot of games, but they score a lot of points. That is not the reason they are not successful. We have seen a team like the Eagles successfully dominate the NFL this year. They're a good team, but they also lean into being unique, different, and a tough challenge weekly because you don't know really what to expect. It's one thing to game plan for these type of teams, specifically the mobile quarterback element, but it's different to actually see it on the field physically and actually be able to defend it physically. So if you can run the football, be physical, but also be unique and creative, that is a huge lesson to take away if you're not the most talented team. I think the biggest, most important takeaway is what the Giants have been able to do. A team that nobody really saw coming this year as a team that could make the playoffs. And when you look at it now, you see they don't have a lot of talent. But they're unique, they're creative, they're well coached, they're physical, and that's how they play football, and that's how they win games. So the formula is there for the underdogs moving into 2023. On top of that concept of the underdog and the physicality of football, we've seen a little bit of a resurgence of the running back position, which is absolutely phenomenal. I hope that continues because that's one of my favorite positions, not only in football, but in all of sports. I fell in love with the running back position when I was very young, and it's awesome to see running backs dominating the NFL. Christian McCaffrey being traded for a bunch of picks and then going to the 49ers and becoming such a key cog to their success. not only as a runner, but a receiver. We've seen Josh Jacobs really have a huge season with the Raiders in a very traditional old school two-back attack from the Raiders. We've seen Saquon Barkley have a big year and a comeback year. We've seen two-back attacks from the Cowboys. We've seen so much running back success from young guys. Kenneth Walker. We've seen Travis Etienne. I mean, you still got the Derrick Henrys, but it feels like running backs right now are doing it in so many different ways. We have power, we have speed, we have elusiveness. We have it all, and it's just great to watch on a weekly basis. I hope that continues into 2023. Coaching this year in 2022 has been absolutely everything when it comes to success in the NFL. We've seen great coaches have a ton of success this year. We've seen coaching staffs ruin football teams this year as well. When we look at positives, you look at the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, what he's been able to do to transform Tua's game at the quarterback position for the Dolphins. Being able to put an offense around him that's all about yards after catch, maximizing the athletes and the playmakers around him, and utilizing the skill set of his quarterback to the absolute max. We've seen that in the negative fashion in New England in the same division. Matt Patricia single-handedly derailing a young, promising quarterback in Mac Jones, and the questionable decisions of Bill Belichick, probably the greatest coach of all time. We've seen him make some mistakes this year. We've also seen great coaches like Kyle Shanahan with 3 different quarterbacks continue to win. In my opinion, the best coach in the game right now. I feel like he's just entering his prime, his peak, and we're about to see the domination from Shanahan in the NFL. We've seen his scheme go on to have success. His coaches go on to have success. His scheme's really taken over the NFL. We're seeing coaches that do have a little bit of an old school mentality, a little bit of a clock management ability to be able to win games at the end. Coaches like Brian Daboll completely make a team better, not only through what he does in terms of scheme, but culture. We've seen Doug Peterson go to Jacksonville and have a ton of success with a young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence and take him to the next level, the level that a lot of people thought he would be entering the NFL. We have not seen that many disasters this year in terms of coaching, but we have seen the Bucs, a team that was super talented, just playing an archaic type of football that I don't think really works. They're not fundamentally sound. They don't have a true identity. And I feel like all the great coaches right now have just a absolute statement of what they are. Their identity, you can see it. I think there's coaches like Nick Sirianni who have embraced what they are to the next level this year. All over the NFL, we are seeing different types of coaches, different types of schemes. We are seeing, I think, a lot of creative minds in the league right now. Another big lesson in terms of coaching has been how offensive scheme, I feel now more than ever. I think the one negative thing in terms of coaching that we are seeing is a lack of understanding when it comes to game management, how to use timeouts, how to put your team in position to win, how to utilize the clock, all these little things that a Bill Parcells was so great at back in the day. These coaches just, because they're so involved with play calling, because they're so involved with sequencing of their offensive scheme, these guys that really are being elevated from being mostly offensive minds and not necessarily overall head coaches, we see some weaknesses. And I think more now than ever, coaches just don't understand those fundamentals and definitely need to go back to the drawing board when it comes to clock management, or at least need to learn a little bit about how they can help their team win at the end of the half and at the end of the game, and specifically at being the overseer of their football team. My final lesson in terms of coaching that I do think is really important moving forward is analytics, especially in terms of 4th down and 2-point conversion. It feels like in 2022, this season in football, we've seen more now than ever that teams the last couple of years were going for it on fourth down, really anywhere on the field. Very aggressive play style, very aggressive decision making. We've seen maybe a little bit more conservative decisions this year, it feels like, but there's been a bit of both. It just feels that the defensive side of the football is way more prepared this year than they ever have been for fourth down decisions, for fourth down play calling, for fourth down tendencies, for 2-point conversions. They feel more prepared, and it does feel like defense is catching up to offense in those situations, which is something that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing if that continues in 2023. It almost feels like fourth down the last few years before 2022 were not taken as seriously as the first three. But now there's been definitely a drastic shift in terms of being prepared for teams that really are aggressive for going for it on fourth down. I think the biggest lesson offensively this year has been the wide receiver position, and not only how important it is to transforming a team and an offense and a quarterback. We kind of already knew that from 2021. But in 2022, I think we have seen that great receivers are great receivers. That's what we've learned. Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill. Doesn't matter if he's on Kansas City or if he's in Miami. Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams. It doesn't matter if he's in Green Bay or if he's in Las Vegas. And A.J. Brown is A.J. Brown. Doesn't matter if he's in Tennessee or Philadelphia. It feels like those three in particular have taught us a lesson this year. That if this receiver is really good, really tough to handle, catches a lot of passes, scores a lot of touchdowns, he's going to do that in basically any system. Which I think the biggest lesson here is that wide receiver is the most transferable position in the NFL. What you get is what you get. What you see is what you get. In any system, on any team, for the most part, it's the most transferable. It's the one that you can count on system to system, team to team, to be consistent more than any other position, in my opinion. Defensively, I believe the biggest lesson we've seen is that speed on defense really matters. We've seen the best defenses in football, for the most part this year, have really strong front sevens with waves of players, but most importantly, have more of a mentality of speed. Being able to tackle, being able to limit yards after catch, being able to close space quickly, being able to play zone, being able to rush four, being able to blitz when you can, but not always have to rely on it. I think defense this year, the best of the best, has been the teams with the speed. And lastly, the biggest lesson from 2022, entering 2023 and beyond, is that we have entered officially a new era in the NFL when it comes to the quarterback position. This is still a quarterback league, and as limited as the quarterback class this year in the NFL has been, 2022, it feels like we have worse quarterback play now than we have the last couple of years. But a lot of that has been because the older guys are starting to fall off. They're starting to be washed. And we're also kind of moving into a new era. We're seeing Mahomes come to the forefront, Allen come to the forefront, Herbert come to the forefront, Burrow come to the forefront. We're seeing even younger quarterbacks like potentially Trevor Lawrence. But it feels like Rodgers and Brady, who were in MVP form just last year, have taken a little bit of a dip. We've seen Russell Wilson officially become kind of bad. We've seen Matt Ryan pretty much be toast. Matthew Stafford got injured. We're seeing a lot of this last era of quarterback disappear, and it's a little sad, but it's also exciting because we're seeing new guys, new faces of the position, and that is what I believe will define this season in the NFL. Those are the lessons from 2022. Let me know yours in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to Gronk spike the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed. Peace.